Hi everyone, today's lesson is about comparing decimals. Before we go into comparing decimal, let's quickly review some important math vocabulary connected to a lesson and review some important information about place value and decimals that will help us then compare. Okay, so let's start with some important information to remember. Please remember that compare means in math to determine if a number is greater than, that means bigger, less than or smaller, or equal than another number. Also, please remember, place value determines the worth of a digit. That means where it's located in the place value tells me how much it's worth. So a 5 in the tens place is worth 50. A 5 in the ones place is worth 5. That's really, really important to remember when we compare decimals today. Also, please remember, whole numbers and decimals are separated by a decimal point. The whole numbers are to the left of the decimal point, and the decimals, which are worth less than 1, are to the right of the decimal point. Finally, please remember that the two place values we're focusing on when it comes to decimals are the tenths and the hundredths. The tenths are 10 times bigger than the hundredths. For example, if I have 1/10, I have 10 hundredths, and I like to connect it to money, so it really helps me connect it to real life and to help me better understand. If I have 1/10, I like to think of them as dimes. I need 10 pennies or 10 hundredths to have 1/10. Okay, so with that said, let's compare some decimals. Okay, so the first thing I want to remind you is of the importance of using the place value chart to really help us compare decimals, especially when we're newer to decimals and to comparing them. It really helps me understand where the numbers go, where the digits go, and how much they're worth, so I can better see which one is bigger or smaller than the other one. So as you can see, we're going to compare 4 different ones right here, and we're going to talk about it. So my first problem, I am comparing 23 hundredths and 4/10. And I like to emphasize how to say it in math. 23 hundredths and 4/10. We use the last place value to the right to name the decimal. So I have 23 hundredths and 4/10. And I am really going to use the place value chart to line it up. So I notice that at 23 hundredths, I have a 2 after the decimal point, which means I have 2 in the tens place, and I have a 3 in the hundredths place. Then I am going to line up the 4/10 right below it so I can better see. I have the 4 in the tens place right after the decimal point. A reminder, when I'm farther left on the place value chart, I am bigger. It doesn't matter how many digits I have on the number, it matters how much they're worth. So when I notice, I start off and I look at the ones place and I have nothing there. So that does not help me. Then I look at the tens place and I have 2 in the 23 hundredths and 4 in the 4/10. 4 is bigger than 2. Therefore, 4/10 is bigger than 23 hundredths. Also, if this helps you, you can add a 0 to anything to the right of the information you have, so you can better see it. Another way of saying 4/10 is 40 hundredths. So 40 hundredths are bigger or is bigger than 23 hundredths. Remember, for 1/10, I have 10 hundredths, so I have 4/10, I have 40 hundredths. So for my first one, 23 hundredths is less than 4/10. The second one that I'm comparing is 6/10 and 38 hundredths. So I have 6/10 and 38 hundredths. Remember, use the place value chart to help you. So I see that I have nothing in the ones place, and then I have a 6 in the tens place. For the 38 hundredths, I have 3 in the tens place and 8 in the hundredths place. Always remember, place value tells me how much it's worth, and I start from the left to the right because it's from bigger to smaller place value. And immediately I should notice that I have 6 in the tens place and 3 in the, for 38 hundredths, 6 is bigger than 3. Therefore, 6/10 is bigger than 38 hundredths. Again, you can add the 0 here to really help you notice that 60 hundredths is indeed bigger than 38 hundredths. So the second one, 6/10 or 60 hundredths is bigger than 38 hundredths. Let's compare the third one. The third one has, as you can see, 9 hundredths and 9 tenths. And it's really, really important that you notice there's a 0 here in the tens place. That means that it's 9 hundredths. So I compare 9 hundredths and 9 tenths. And I make sure to place it where it goes. I have decimal point, then I have 0 in the tens place, and 9 in the hundredths place for 9 hundredths. For 9 tenths, it is 9 in the tens place. I should notice, and I should remember, I start left to right to compare numbers because the farther left, the more it's worth. I have 0 in the tens place here and 9 in the tens place here. 9 is bigger than 0. Therefore, I know 9 tenths is bigger than 9 hundredths. Or 9 hundredths is less than 9 tenths. So we've done the third one. Let's do a final one to help us fully understand and review this. So the last one has 70 hundredths and 7 tenths. And I once again help myself out by putting in the place value chart. I have 0 in the ones place, 7 in the tenths place, and 0 in the hundredths place. And then the next one I have blank or 0 in the ones place, 7 in the tenths place. So I go to the 0. Both of them have 0, which means that does not help me. That does not tell me which one is bigger. Then I go to the tenths, and both of them have 7 in the tenths place. That doesn't help me because they have the same value in that place value. So I go to the hundredths. This is very, very, very important. If it's blank in the hundredths, it also tells me it is 0. And that should make sense because for every 1 tenth I have 10 hundredths. For every dime I have 10 pennies. So if I have 7 dimes or 7 tenths, I have 70 pennies. Therefore, even though they are written differently, 7 tenths and 70 hundredths are equal. They're worth the exact same. For my last one, 70 hundredths and 7 tenths are equal. That's the end of our lesson. I hope it helped you better understand decimals and how to compare them. Have a great day.